Hello, everyone. Welcome into another edition of Nightly Scroll, this very special Monday edition of Nightly Scroll. I hope you all had a great weekend. I know I did. I'm well rested. But even though I'm well rested, it doesn't mean I don't need coffee. Okay, so are you tired of watered down coffee? Because Blackout coffee is bold, fresh, and roasted right here in Florida. It ships fast to all 50 states. So go to blackoutcoffee.com/Hayley and use code Hayley, that's Hayley, for 20% off your first order. Don't settle. Upgrade your coffee right now. Liberals, Mike Crispi is here to help me. Protests happening in cities and states all over the country. They broke out everywhere on April 5th. What were they protesting? I could not, for the life of me, tell you. But I'm going to do my darndest to get inside the heads of these protesters and try to figure it out. Someone told these protesters to show up, and boy, did they. And many are questioning whether or not the protesters were paid to be there. But regardless, they came out in droves to protest the current thing, okay? Insert liberal cause here, and they came out in droves for it. So I just want to show you some of the pictures of their signs at the protests. We'll just go by one by one here. Chop, 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 chop. It says, this ish has to stop. So there's a guillotine. Again, the left loves to get violent. Here. They want 1933 Germany. Let's give them 1789 France. Okay? Now, we've moved away from the government. Now, keep your tiny orange hands off my uterus. Now we're not just protesting the government. Now we're protesting Trump and reproductive rights. Now, trans people are not the 1% ruining America. Okay? So now we need to keep track here. They're mad at Trump. They're mad at Elon Musk. They're mad. This sign here says IKEA has better cabinets. So they're mad at Trump's entire cabinet. They're mad about reproductive rights. They're mad about trans rights. Now here's a lovely photo of what looks like a demonic President Vladimir Putin. And he's nursing a very small baby-like President Trump. Okay, that's a disturbing photo. Here's another one. I love my black trans girlfriend. Can we zoom in on his face? Does he look happy? Does he look happy, everyone? I don't know. But he's out there protesting for his black trans girlfriend. So again, what are they protesting? I don't know. Here's another one. Jewish mother for ceasefire. Well, I'm confused as to why all of these people are out here. It seems like they're out here for anything and everything. And of course, The Handmaid's Tale, they have to pull these costumes out. They probably keep them in their closet and they're like, oh, great, here's another protest. I'm just going to wear my red cloak. My father, here's another sign. My father did not fight Nazis for this. Read a history book, please. If you are conflating anything that happened with the Holocaust and what is happening today, you are misinformed. The left always loves to say, oh, the right's uneducated. That's their favorite insult to throw out. You're just uneducated. You just don't get it. But they're uneducated. And I think the former theater kids and band geeks, they use these protests to flex their artistic muscle. I think it's more for the sake of arts and crafts. And they feel like they're a part of something again. Here's another, the guys just pulled up another sign here. It says, let them eat Teslas. Okay, whatever you guys say. Anyway, those are just some of the signs that I found hilarious. I'm racking my brain as to figure out how they all figured out to get out there all at once when they're protesting all these other things. But it's curious because some of these protesters, they don't look like the usual suspects that we see. The blue hairs, the green hairs, the purple hairs, the pink hairs that we see in the Pacific Northwest. There's some older folks that are protesting. So End Wokeness put this on X. It's just a photo, like, what's different here? It's, guys, this is number 3. But it's just retired folks joining the ranks. I guess this is probably because of the Social Security aspect of all of this. They think, because they consume the mainstream media, they think that, here's the photo here. Notice anything about this crowd. A lot of these protesters are older. They look like they're probably boomers or maybe a little younger, but they're 65 and up. I haven't seen this before. We haven't seen older liberals. Usually, the wiser you are, the elder you are, but we're not seeing that. So the retired folks have joined the unemployed social justice warriors to protest the cuts being made to Social Security. And yes, Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency have made cuts to the Office of Social Security. And if you consume the mainstream media, like I'm sure these people do, you would think that we are in a death spiral, according to Newsweek. Social Security in, quote, death spiral after Doge cuts. You'll also think that we are descending into utter chaos, according to The Guardian. Doge's attack on Social Security causing complete, utter chaos, says the staff. So I guess that's Social Security staff. Anyway, the Social Security Administration had 57,000 employees, and now it has 50,000. So do you expect me to believe that those 7,000 people were the glue keeping the entire operation together? You're telling me that the 50,000 people employed by the government right now in that one department aren't enough to keep the train on the tracks? And what were they busy doing anyway? Giving more than 2 million Social Security numbers to illegal immigrants? Or giving money away by accident? An Inspector General's report came out just this past summer and found that $72 billion in improper payments were made by the Social Security Administration. So if this is what Doge is cutting back on, why march and protest? Why protest? Why wouldn't everyone be on board with this? But like all good leftist protests, it always comes back to race, even if that's not the issue being protested. So I was scrolling on TikTok and I found this video of a young girl. She's on the train and it says, saw so many white protesters heading to DC this morning. And someone told us, I hope you're not going anywhere near that. Let us handle the protests. Let us handle this. So here are some of the comments that I found just wild. Someone said, as a white person, I consider it unfinished business. This is 100% our fault. Someone named Cam commented, as a gay man, Black women have fought the hardest for me and I got y'all. Then Art by Jessica Jewett commented, even my little white town in Appalachia had a protest and it's raining here. You do self-care, let us do this. And then finally, Sour Patch Gen X Kid wrote, sit back, take a deep breath, watch from your phone. This is our fight. What is the fight? No one is on the same page. No one can tell me. I mean, I showed you 15 signs. None of them were about race. I'm confused. So I've showed you his videos before, but Nick Shirley, he does man on the street interviews. He tried to go figure out what it is that these people are protesting, but he was met with resistance. Watch this.
They are confronting these anti-Trump and anti-Elon Musk protesters, seeing what they're protesting for. Let's see who we can get up here. Wow.
I just want to remind you of protest procedure. Don't film unless it's consent of anyone's faces. And we'd ask if you
We're on public property, though, so we can film.
Are you part of the protest? Are you against?
Of course, I'm here. Hey, easy. Dude, you don't have our consent to do this.
Don't touch me.
Don't
touch me!
Whoa,
Don't
easy.
touch me!
I didn't touch you for nothing.
You touched me! Don't touch me!
You want some money? He's touching him.
Can we get someone around these people?
I mean, these people are not normal, okay? So these hands-off protesters, they're fighting for the government's hands-off to be, they want their hands off of Black Americans, hands off payments to Ukraine, hands off my uterus, hands off this, that, everything in between. But these are also the liberals who vote for big government involvement in every aspect of American life because they want free healthcare, free education. They want our government to fund foreign wars and transgender mice research and Sesame Street in Pakistan. They want the government's grubby hands in everything. The mental gymnastics is truly astounding. So I'm not sure what was being protested this weekend, but maybe my next guest, Mike Crispi, can help me figure it out. He's the host of Last Call on Real America's Voice. He's host of Mike Crispi Unafraid right here on Rumble. He's a former New Jersey congressional candidate. He was a 2024 Trump surrogate. He's the chairman of the America First Republicans of New Jersey and the president of the Italian American Civil Rights League. Am I missing anything, Mike?
That guy. Thank you, Hayley. Good to see you.
Of course. We need a great introduction for a great guest. So for anyone watching, Mike and I are good friends. We met in Miami, of all places. We were both living in New York City, but we met in Miami because it was during COVID, and Miami was this just place of sanity that we could all run to in the face of just crazy communist New York City.
True. Neither one of us vaccinated. And, that makes us in a playing field of very few. The smart, the few, the mentally strong, everyone watching the show, great live audience, Hayley. We're in good company here. It's great to see you, my longtime friend in conservative media and one of the best. So happy about your new show.
Thank you. And I was one of the first guests on your show when you started your show. When was that, 2020 or 2021?
Oh, way back in the day, from Right Side Broadcasting Network, to doing LFA on Rumble to now going to Real America's Voice. It's been quite a ride. And we do all this stuff because somebody's got to put it out there. And unfortunately, the fake news, the mainstream media, they have been very dishonest to the people. And that's why Rumble has risen up. And that's why Rumble's doing amazing. So thanks to the great Dan Bongino and now you, Hayley, paving the way and making it happen. I'm so excited to be a part of it.
Well, I love that you tell it like it is. So what's your take on all these protests, these hands-off protests from over the weekend?
I just love the clips. You could just feel the estrogen coursing through the veins of these people. I mean, the guy, the don't touch me guy, that just perfectly embodies all of these people. There's protests in New Jersey. I'm in New Jersey, and they had one at the Tesla dealership. And America First Republicans, we had like a counter protest. Okay, so we had 200 people there. They had their group of people that all showed up at the exact same time. They were late, by the way. Okay, they're not very hard workers because they're liberals. They're late, by the way. They got their pre-made signs. Okay, with the words. Every single protest has somebody wearing a Luigi costume to incite Luigi Mangione. Very weird. And every single one, the New York protest, the New Jersey protest, the Washington, everyone has a Luigi Mangione, dressed up person. They all have the signs that say the same thing, and they all show up at the same time, and they all leave at the same time. I guess to go to the next location on the bus that it has been exposed that they're riding around on. So wild stuff, but I just got to tell you, I think we're in a good spot because they didn't seem like they were working that hard. They seemed like they were clock punching. Wave the sign, don't touch me, don't touch me. All right, we made our money, we're out. So,
do you think they're getting paid?
100%. 100%. And, you really got to be, one, you have to be a very low-skilled individual to take that job. You really have to have no shame. But they're definitely being paid because, again, they all show up at the same time. It was exposed in Washington, D.C. Laura Loomer actually had the footage of the buses, of people getting off the buses and the signs in the bottom of the bus, ready to go with the pre-made words. They all wear the same costumes. They all have the same chants. They write the chants down. The pre-made signs are the same. They all have the same look. They wear the same masks, and then they show up and leave at the exact same time. I guess to go to the next city for the next protest to make it look like they're protesting in 10 different cities. No, it's the same group of two groups of people in 10 different cities on one day. It's a scam, Hayley. It's a scam.
Wow. So it's interesting that you brought up their obsession with Luigi Mangione because they have this violent proclivity that I think protesters on the right don't have. all these signs. I mean, the one I showed at the beginning, there's a guillotine. And I want to show you this video. Guys, this is video 9. This guy, he was asking, what are you out here protesting for? And of course, just a minute later, it gets violent. Watch this.
What are we protesting today?
Donald Trump.
What's Donald Trump doing that we're protesting?
Well, he is fucking up the American democracy right now and trying to kind of repeal a bunch of shit in the Constitution, like, rights and liberties. So,
is there anything in specific that he's...
I don't have all the information, but I do know.
What are you against?
Personally, I'm against tyrants. I'm against tyranny. That's what I'm against.
What is that?
Somebody who's coming in and trying to take over the country and get rid of the rules and regulations that have existed for centuries to keep us citizens safe.
How do you feel about Donald Trump?
I think that he deserves to die.
You should what?
Die.
There it is. Why do they get so violent? And why are they okay with calling for the death of a president on camera?
And by the way, that what we said at the beginning about the estrogen coursing through their voice, I mean, they're all the same. They're all the same, Hayley. And they really are. I mean, these are very mentally disturbed people. And this is the Democrat Party of 2025. They prey on the mentally disturbed and the vulnerable. And they say, join us. We'll do things for you. We'll provide for you. Never in the history of the world have the bad guys been the ones trying to cut the size of government and maximize individual liberties. Correct. They don't understand that. And I said to myself when I was at the protest that day, 2 weekends ago, I said, I can't believe this. Elon Musk wants to cut $1 trillion of money that these people and their family have paid into via tax dollars their whole life. It's all like kind of going into this black hole. And they're not a little bit happy that maybe they'll like get the Doge dividend and get more money back and save more money in the future. And that these, and they, like they're not a little happy about it. Like they have whipped up these mentally ill people to a state to where they're protesting, getting screwed over more in perpetuity forever. I mean, it's so crazy.
Yeah, as long as they get their free stuff, they don't care what the government does. They'll give the government free reign to become as big as it wants to be, as long as they get their college for free and their healthcare for free and whatever for free, but nothing's for free. And if they went to college, they would maybe know that. But anyway, speaking of estrogen coursing through the veins of men, Mark Cuban weighed in on this transgender athletes in women's sports debacle. He was on Stephen A. Smith's podcast. Listen to this.
The whole trans sports issue, it's like the old Willie Horton thing. My attitude is if there's a trans athlete, no matter what side, you let the opponent, whether it's an individual sport or a team sport, you let them decide if they wanted to compete against them or not. If they feel they can win, if they feel it's not fair, it's up to them. But to make it just a national issue so that if you weren't supporting the fewer than 10 trans athletes in the NCAA, then, you weren't a good person. People aren't ready for that yet. And you've got to meet people where they are. We've taken this country so far in race relationships, relations, and attitudes towards LGBTQ. It takes time. You can't just force it down people's throat. And instead of trying to get it where the people who are being disadvantaged and being discriminated against are helped, they wanted to make it a campaign issue. Focus on helping the people, not using them to campaign.
Mike, if women and men were on the same playing field when it came to sports, do you think that maybe why didn't he buy the WNBA team and not the Dallas Mavericks? I mean, if they're just the same, why not?
I think, he says people aren't ready for it. I have an idea for Mark Cuban. He should make the mascot of the Dallas Mavericks a tranny. How about he should do that? Maybe that'll make people ready for it, okay? How about he's ready for his ticket sales to plummet in the event of that happening? It's really funny. You say, well, why didn't you just buy a WNBA team then? And then have them play in the NBA if the gender doesn't matter. Oh, they'd go 0-82. So he wouldn't do that. But no, Mark Cuban has been trying to find his lane ever since he tried to cozy up to Trump. Trump saw through the facade. He said, get out of the Oval Office. I want nothing to do with you. Mark Cuban was a .com scammer, not that smart, made some money. He was lucky. And then he went to Kamala Harris. I know he's not smart, Hayley. I watched this guy on the stump for Kamala Harris, okay? And this guy was talking in the microphone. He was so bad at it that the crowd in the audience, like 200 people, they're like, louder, we can't hear you. This guy couldn't even speak properly in the microphone. And then he's reading his speech like this when he's at the podium stumping for Kamala Harris. It's like, buddy, you can't just let it rip from the heart. You got to read in a little mousy voice with your phone like this in your face. What a loser.
Yeah, like we said, estrogen pumping through the veins there. I also think it's crazy that, he's just saying, well, the women should just choose. Like, if they're not up to the fight, then don't participate. And it's kind of sad that we've been seeing a lot of women not participate in events that are meant for them. There are women that are kneeling, they're protesting women's events because men are taking over. And the left would love to tell you that it's not happening, but here's trans athletes in a pool tournament. There's a headline this is out of the UK, but a women's pool tournament championship features 2 transgender players. These are men pretending to be women after beating all of the female competition. So is this supposed to be good for women? Like, oh, the women can decide whether or not they want to. I mean, they're ignoring the biological reality that men are better than women in most aspects, especially when it comes to physicality. And it's not just, the swimming and the fencing and all of that. I mean, even like the mental acuity, I mean, it's just different. Men and women, they should have their own respective groups and competitions. Like, this has been happening for quite some time and it's been good. Like, why break what isn't broken, or why fix what isn't broken?
Yeah, I like how that pool group, they put out like this statement, like this very politically correct statement. Oh, we have always supported women. I'm like, it's like amazing. They prepared the statement that they probably, spent like, $50,000 of legal work to create some nice statement that wouldn't offend anybody. But it's like very simple: man pool league, woman pool league. And it was Donald Trump on the campaign trail. I think he was saying it, towards the end. He goes, I can't even believe that I'm up here right now. And the issue that I'm talking about in the 2024 election is men playing in women's sports. He kind of had like a moment where he kind of was like self-realizing. He's like, I can't believe this is what I'm actually saying in reality, as like a contrast between me and the other party. So I think it's a wild place to be. And, it's Tim Walz, who's now like the standard bearer for the Democrat Party, him and Jasmine Crockett. I think they should run together in 28. That'd be a great ticket.
I agree.
But he's like, we need more DEI. We need more of this, tranny sports stuff. I'm like, yes, Tim Walz, go forth and prosper in your party. I hope you keep that up. I hope you and Crockett are the nominees in 28. Let's go.
That would be wild. That would be really, really wild. Who do you want to see on our side in 2028?
Oh, I don't know. It's going to be a pretty wild. I have a prediction. I think it's going to be a pretty wild primary. I do think JD Vance is going to come out of it. I do think JD Vance will be the nominee in 28.
I agree.
But, I don't think it's just going to be anointed JD Vance. I have a feeling you're going to see like 20 different people try to come come for the seat. Everyone's going to be pledging loyalty to Trump. I think, Trump is going to, because, Trump built the party, Trump made it what it is. I say make it like Apprentice style, have all these people kind of vying for it. So, and I think Trump, in Trump fashion, I think he's going to lay a play out a little bit. Again, this is the Apprentice. This is what he does. So I think Vance is the front runner. I love JD Vance. I think he's phenomenal, particularly the way that he, gave the, talk to the hand to Zelensky. Beautiful moment. In that moment, I said, this guy is ready. But my prediction is, and not a lot of people are talking about this yet, is I think that Trump is going to go Apprentice style, Kingmaker style. I think everyone's going to be duking it out. But I don't think that anybody's going to be anointed too soon, because this is Trump's party. Trump knows that. Everybody else knows that. And I think that until the very end, Trump can decide who's ready to take on the party.
Totally.
But from now until that point, got a lot of work to do, and Trump is ready to the task, and I think he announces it for Vance late. That's my prediction.
That's a good prediction. We'll come back in 4 years and figure it out. But not to get too ahead of ourselves because, obviously we've got a midterm election before then and, a lot could happen in the next 4 years. So, but speaking of JD Vance, someone who really hates him is Jack Schlossberg. So Jack Schlossberg is JFK's grandson. He's a Kennedy through and through. I was talking to one of my friends earlier today, and one of her friends went to Harvard Law School with Jack Schlossberg, and she told me just a quick story. This is just a quick aside, that he used to join his Harvard Law School classes via Zoom with his shirt off and in boxers. So just to paint the picture for everyone watching and all the people in the live chat, this is a Kennedy who grew up with a silver spoon in his mouth. He's a Democrat, and he thinks I can do whatever I want. So Jack Schlossberg, for the last, since the debate, really, and, since the inauguration, he's been making these videos. I think I played one on the show a few weeks ago, but he's been talking about how he wants Usha Vance, the second lady of the United States, to leave Vice President J.D. Vance for him. He really likes her. He's taken a liking to her. And they are very happily married, it seems. They've got beautiful children. They're a beautiful family. He speaks very highly of her, so I don't know why Usha Vance would ever leave JD for Jack Schlossberg, but he's recently posted this on X. He wrote, "I'm having a son. So excited about this. Cannot wait for the birth of my next child because today was the best day of my life. Out of wedlock, yes, but we might get married." So he posted that recently. And then on TikTok, he posted this photo of Second Lady Usha Vance, obviously a photo of her carrying her own child in her arms, but he has superimposed his own face on the baby. So is this someone who's mentally stable, Mike?
Well, he is a paid troll. The leftists love to use the word, trolls, and anybody who, was online, they're a troll. But we're just people in the new media. Like, they'll call me a troll, they'll call you a troll. Schlossberg is literally a paid troll. There's nothing, again, Usha Vance, JD Vance, great, video, movie they made about them. Totally in love, great family, beautiful family. Schlossberg is just being a troll. They're just, paying him to antagonize and to get attention. And he's a paid troll because when President Trump was releasing the Kennedy files and was talking about that, he was like, no, I don't want the Kennedy files to come out. This is terrible. Okay, hold on a minute. Anybody who's watching this show, think for a minute. If your grandfather was famously gunned down and murdered, whether he was a famous person or not, and you had somebody who was holding on to the evidence for years and years and years and years, we'll call it the, U.S. government, and somebody had the power to release it, 100% of the time you would want it to be out there. You'd want the truth. Like, every single person in the history of a criminal justice system on the history of the planet, usually they want to know who killed their family member or loved one, except for I'm tongue twisting, except for Schlossberg, okay? The audience knows how hard it was to just say that. So he didn't want that because he's a paid troll. He's so insufferable. And, his TikToks, his tweets, everything, it's just paid propaganda. I don't know who he's reaching. I guess the Democrats think it's reaching some type of voter base.
Yeah, liberal women are loving him.
I'm sorry?
Liberal women are loving him.
Oh, yeah, liberal. Well, liberal women are more miserable and 99.9% of the time uglier than conservative women, so they can have them.
Yeah, it makes sense. And to your point about, obviously wanting this highly sensitive material about the death of your grandfather uncovered, it really, I think it just has to do with the fact that Trump wants it uncovered, and he hates that RFK Jr. is tied to Trump. The entire family had to come out and write this letter about how, an open letter about how much we hate RFK Jr. and we disown him and whatever, all this stuff. But imagine if Obama was president and he wanted to, for the sake of transparency, release this information unredacted. What do you think that his reaction would be?
Well, Obama would never do it because Obama is a created puppet from some, very dark swirling actors. You can look up who Lolo Soetoro was and, how Obama came to be, didn't get raised in Chicago, adopted son of an Indonesian billionaire. So that's a whole nother thing. But Obama would never, okay, he would never do something like, blow the whistle on the deep state that created him and release files about how this deep state group, took out a president, which is what happened to JFK. But if Obama did, they would be lauding him. They would be applauding him. Okay, it would be the same level of fake fanfare as people are giving Hayley to, we were talking about this before we went on the air, Michelle Obama's horrible podcast, okay,
Yes,
that has no
let's get
ratings and
into
no
it.
reviews.
Yeah,
That's a good
it's
segment.
shocking to me. I mean, Michelle Obama, she obviously, former first lady of the United States, she could do anything. She could just ride off into the sunset, but everyone has a podcast these days. I know I can't talk, but, Michelle Obama, you would think that one of the first ladies of the United States, she would have somewhat of a following. I mean, I'm sure, let me just pull up her Instagram right here. I'm sure, let me search it, Michelle Obama. I mean, she's got 11.1 million followers on her former, first lady account, and then she's got 56.8 million. So in terms of successful podcasts, I mean, you would think that there would be more than 10,000 people watching, but that's what's happening. 10,000 people are watching her show, and she keeps disparaging her relationship with Obama, which seems to be on the rocks. There are rumors about him dating Jennifer Aniston, maybe cheating on Michelle Obama, or he posted a horrible photo of Michelle Obama for her birthday. People were like, he hates her. Like, something's going on. What's happening?
Okay. So this is one of my favorite topics. Michelle Obama fueled all of the speculation that I've been putting out there for a long time about Barack. Michelle Obama said, something, I don't know the exact quote, but I'm paraphrasing. Like different type of women have different type of relationships with men, and they have different type of relationships with men and women. I'm like, oh, hold on. Are you speaking from experience? Because Barack Hussein Obama, there are two instances, concrete influences, and I'm not even talking about Larry Sinclair. Two concrete instances where Barack Obama, I don't think he's dating Jennifer Aniston, Hayley. I think he's swinging the other way. Ooh. His ex-girlfriend, okay, Barack Obama's ex-girlfriend said, or produced a letter last year. Nobody talked about this. Produced a letter from Barack Obama, like a love letter that he wrote to her, saying that that he has sex with men in his imagination. Okay, very weird thing to write in a erotic love letter of sorts, but These are the Democrat leaders. And then Barack Obama's former biographer, okay, said that oftentimes during their, biographical chats, Barack Obama exhibited or would talk about or make references to, homosexual activity. So, Michelle Obama saying what you said the other day on the podcast, I kind of went, that's interesting. Maybe she's telling us something. If you give these people long enough time to talk, they'll tell you exactly who they are. So We got to get that clip. We got to get that clip of Michelle Obama. But I'll tell you one thing, Hayley, they're not together like Michelle and Barack. They're like appearing separately. I think Barack Obama is just going to, you know what? And good for him. He's going to go and be himself. And while he's at it, the Democrat Party, the loving acceptance party of the LGBT, they should be applauding that they had the first gay president, Barack Obama. Why aren't they happy about that?
Yeah. I mean, seriously, they should take that to the bank. That's what they care about. Mike Crispi, thank you so much for being here. Before you go, plug your show.
All right, guys, you can follow me, rumble.com/Crispi, 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 and then Saturday nights, 8 o'clock on Real America's Voice TV. Thanks, Hayley. You're the best. Thanks for having me on.
Mike. That was fun. I hope you guys love Mike as much as I do. I have got way more for you in the show tonight, but we're going to take a quick break.
Ready, Freddie?
Okay, cool.
Ready, Freddie?
Okay, cool. All right, no problem. All right, coffee lovers, this is the good stuff. I don't mess around about my coffee, and that's why I'm all about Blackout Coffee, and you should too. They are a small batch, family-owned roastery right here in Florida. They craft bold, premium coffee that actually delivers on flavor. It's not burnt, and whatever you like it. If you like it strong, you like it smooth, they have got a roast for you. And guess what? They ship fresh to all 50 states. So wherever you are, you can get your hands on Blackout Coffee. And because you are scrolling with the homies, you get 20% off your first order. Just use Hayley, that's Hayley at checkout. Hit up blackoutcoffee.com/Hayley to grab your bag. I love it. I know you will too. Stop drinking weak coffee. Make the switch to Blackout Coffee today. blackoutcoffee.com/Hayley. Use code Hayley for 20% off your first order. All right, so we've been talking a lot about how the left, of course, they gaslit the American people. All throughout Biden's presidency, we were seeing him trip up the stairs and shake hands with nobody and whatever else he was doing. He was walking off and he needed a handler and things were not good. But if you asked liberals in the media, they would tell you to your face, don't believe your lying eyes. Like, he's fine. Everything's fine. But we know, the American people know, that that's not the truth, of course. And, George Clooney came out and he wrote this op-ed and he said, I don't think that Biden should run for president. I think that he should drop out. George Clooney was like the first person to say, I don't think that he should do it. Kind of a strange, he's not a political guy, really. I mean, not openly. He's obviously an actor and he does whatever he does. He's got a great tequila company that I tend to enjoy sometimes. But I certainly don't look to him for political advice, and I don't think people in the political realm do either. So it was kind of out of left field. And here's what MSNBC host Mika Brzezinski said at the time. Watch this.
George Clooney. I mean, oh, brother, where art thou, Willie? And
I did like that movie.
Fantastic Mr. Fox.
And I don't like movies.
My children and I have seen Fantastic Mr. Fox more than any other movie in the history of mankind. So I cannot diss George Clooney if I actually want to ever watch that with my kids again.
This wasn't George Clooney.
What do you mean?
It just wasn't. Come on.
Who do you think it was? Matt Damon?
It was not Matt Damon.
Who do you think it was?
It wasn't Julia Roberts either.
Who do you think it was? You can say the name. You won't melt. It's not Voldemort. Are you saying you think Barack Obama put him up to this?
I think that Barack Obama has a lot of influence, and I think that there's a lot there.
There's a lot there.
There's a lot there.
There is a lot there, Willie.
I'll tell you, there were two people in this picture, and one has had a presidency that absolutely, undeniably.
Okay.
All right. So one of the top hosts at MSNBC thinks that Barack Obama put George Clooney up to this. And I reported on the show last week, there was another book come out by Leftists Now, Monday Morning Quarterbacking, the wild election and the switch out and all this stuff. And they said that Barack Obama did not like Kamala Harris. He did not think that Biden should run, but he didn't want Kamala Harris to take the spot. But he did. So I don't know. Did Obama have the pull that we think he has? We just don't know. But George Clooney, so after that clip on MSNBC ran, George Clooney freaked out on one of the MSNBC producers behind the scenes. So this is all part of the new book here. He said, "How the F could you let her link me with Barack Obama, saying he made me write the op-ed?" ? This is all part of this book, Uncharted, How Obama Beat Biden, Harris, and the Odds in the Wildest Campaign in History. Then he went on yelling at the producer, saying, "You effed me. You're my friend. You should have stood up for me." And then the producer replied back to George Clooney and said, "George, this is not an effing movie. There is no script. It's just not a movie where you can go script page to script page." This is quite interesting. So George Clooney is yelling at the producer saying, how could you even let her say this? He didn't deny it, by the way. He didn't say that's totally messed up, dude. That's not real. That's not true. Issue a correction. He just said, you effed me, man. Basically, I didn't want people to know the truth. And I like that the producer kind of like ripped back at him saying, there's no script here. This is live television. The producers don't really have control over what the host says, okay? I used to work in cable news. You can write certain things, but, the lights are on, the cameras are on, and the host can say whatever you want. I mean, I can say whatever I want right now. I can go off the rails and, what are Guy and Justin going to do? Like, put tape over my mouth? I mean, once the cameras are rolling, like, it's live, baby. This is showbiz. So George Clooney, not too happy about Mika Brzezinski, probably correctly predicting how involved Barack Obama was with that op-ed. Now, we talked about this with Mike, but, Barack Obama, I mean, he's finishing up his presidential memoirs, I guess. He's working at the Obama Foundation. He and Michelle are working at Netflix producing stuff now. And, he recently came out saying he was in a deep deficit with his wife. And he's been trying to dig himself out of that hole by doing occasionally fun things. He said that this past weekend with, I think his name was Stephen Temper or something, Stephen Temper at Hamilton College. And I find it interesting now that Michelle is on her own podcast disparaging Barack. And then Barack goes and speaks at a college. I don't know why he's bringing up the depression that he had to dig himself out of because of his marriage. I can assume that, running for president does put a strain on a relationship. Obviously, you do not have time to make your partner a priority the same way that you did before. But something's off with them too. I don't know what's going on. But in some good news, before we get to scrolling, I just have one more good piece of good news for you, and that is that Vice President J.D. Vance celebrated his mom, Bev, at the White House today. She is 10 years sober this year, and he promised that they would celebrate at the White House. He wrote on X earlier, "This year marks my mom's 10th year of sobriety, and I'm grateful that we were able to celebrate in the White House with our family. Mom, I am so proud of you." That is something that we should be proud of. He had such a horrible upbringing. He rose above everything, went to Yale, was a Marine, became the Vice President of the United States. I mean, he really pulled himself out of the trenches. He is the American dream, the epitome of the American dream. And a lot of Americans can unfortunately see themselves in this story as well. Maybe they don't have, the Hillbilly Elegy book and the movie and all of that, but a lot of American families know what it's like to struggle with addiction. There are over 20 million Americans who struggle with addiction, and only like 10% get the help that they need. So think about those numbers and think about how many people can see this wonderful moment as an inspiration. I just thought it was really, really beautiful, and I wanted to share that with all of you. And now it is scrolling time. About motherhood in the news this week. They have these Democrat congresswomen on TV, and they're doing all these hits, and they've got their baby in tow, and they're arguing that they have to vote remotely because they're a mom and they can't possibly do both. But then they're doing hits, and they're on the they're on the Senate floor or the House floor arguing that they can't do both, but they have their baby there. I'm like, maybe you should leave your token baby, your prop at home, if that's the point that you're trying to make, but I digress. And I don't really care too much about the voting remotely. It's obviously, it shouldn't be a permanent thing. I think if you have just given birth, you should maybe be able to vote remotely. I don't know what the parental leave type situation is in Congress. Some people argue that, don't have children if you run for Congress, but I think sometimes that can't be planned. And I think as part of the pro-life community, and if we're the party of life and we believe in the sanctity of life, if people are married, they should be able to have children. So I think we should be able to accommodate them, but it shouldn't be this long-term thing. But, stay-at-home moms are kind of angry about this whole conversation. And I found one on TikTok. She's really, really mad, but she doesn't understand, personal responsibility. Watch this.
Just don't think people realize how hard being a stay-at-home mom is. I don't think people realize at all. Do you think
they do.
That we wanted to stay home with our kids? Do you think we wanted to give up our life? Yeah, I know. I opened my legs, okay? 22 years old with 3 kids. Got it. Great. Thank you. Do you think this job
sounds like a you problem
is easy 24/7, no breaks, barely adult interaction? You're talking to kids all day long. Because I don't think people understand this is the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life.
All right, I've heard enough of this crying. I do find it interesting. She did note there that she's 22 or 23 and she has 3 kids. So I do think she's probably too young to have made this decision. She doesn't seem like she's very happy about it. It doesn't seem like she wanted kids. It seems like this was kind of a mistake. And that's what happens when you open your legs and you don't know the consequences, or you choose to ignore the consequences. So I don't know. I also don't agree with her crying and screaming about how hard being a mother is. You can hear her children making noise in the background. I mean, why would you ever cry like this on the internet, first of all? But why would you do that in front of your children? I don't care how young they are. I don't care. I mean, children can pick up on these things. And certainly if they're old enough to understand, their mom is crying and they feel that blame placed on them, I mean, how horrible. So yeah, I mean, motherhood is not for everyone. It's not for the weak. It's not for the faint of heart. It is hard work. No one is arguing, especially on the pro-life side of it. No one's arguing that it's easy, but it's really rewarding. And I think if you are meant to be a mother, you should be one. And if you're not, you should take the necessary steps to not become one. All right, I'm ending the show on a really, really wonderful note. I found this video and it's so heartwarming. You know those videos where people are on airlines and the pilot or the flight attendant will come on the loudspeaker and make an announcement? I've seen really cute videos about, the pilot saying, my sister's on this flight and, don't worry, I'm going to get you there safely, or this is a special flight. So this video, I don't know exactly what airline this is, but a veteran who was 100 years old, he fought in Iwo Jima. He got his flowers on this flight. Watch this.
We don't have royalty in the United States, but we sure have something pretty close, and he's sitting in row 1. We have a survivor of the Battle of Iwo Jima aboard. Gordy is 100 years old. He landed on Iwo Jima on his 20th birthday. I know I've had some great birthday parties, but not quite as dramatic as that. So please, a round of applause for Gordy. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be here. Thank you, sir. It's an honor.
Gordy, when was your birthday?
February 19th.
Oh, happy birthday.
How amazing. Everyone in the chat, God bless him. Someone said I reposted that video. Damn, he looks good for 100. I agree. He looks really, really good for 100. I just clapped out loud in my apartment. Yeah, really, really wonderful. And if you're listening to the show, you're not watching, the flight attendant came over and pat him on the back. Here were some of the comments. Someone named Louis said, 100 years and Iwo Jima. He's a walking history book, and I cannot thank him enough for his service. I echo that. Someone named Bree said, this makes my heart so happy to see this. With all the evil in the world today, it is getting rare. Someone else said, being on Iwo Jima, there is no telling the horror that man saw and endured. I hope he's been able to enjoy a peaceful life since his service. God knows he deserves it. And the History Channel actually commented on the video saying, "Thank you for your service, Gordy." And I don't know if you caught this in the video, but his birthday was February 19th. So on his 20th birthday, he landed there, fought in that battle. I mean, could you imagine being 20 years old and doing that? I mean, this is by far the greatest generation, and they don't make them like Gordy anymore. So God bless Gordy. I hope he has a wonderful birthday, and I hope he lives to 100 and however long. I just hope he lives out the rest of his life and knows that we are so, so grateful for him and for his service. And of course, for the servicemen and women that are not getting the attention like he did. So wanted to end the show on that note. Thank you all for being here. Make sure that you're subscribed, rumble.com/Hayley. You can watch the show with me, which I think is more fun. And then if you want to listen to the show, you can listen on your favorite podcast platform, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Make sure that you're leaving a review, 5 stars, subscribe everywhere so that you never miss a show. And I will see you right back here tomorrow.